I used to say that I couldn't control my depression, anger, or fear, or any of my thoughts. But that was just an excuse. I thought that I couldn't control the looping thoughts over and over and over again until I met Jay, who really taught me that we have 100% control over everything in our lives, good or bad. So, Jay, why do people make excuses and tell themselves and other people that they can't control their thoughts?
Yeah, great question. Why would someone do that? If you introduce a child to a new activity they've never done before, how likely is it that they'll say, oh, I can't do that?
Well, they've never done it before, so they'll say that. It's pretty common, yeah, that they're going to say that.
Right. And as a parent, we have to say, yes, you can. We don't use can't around here, etc., etc. You might get the odd kid or the odd activity where the response is different, such as, oh yeah, I can totally do that, right?
I mean, it's possible, yeah.
But it's not uncommon for a kid to meet a new experience or a new activity and instantly think, I can't do that.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So one reason that people might say they can't control their thoughts is that it's new to them.
Okay.
There's a lot of people walking around right now who have never really tried to control their thoughts. They just default to I can't, like they have since they were kids.
Well, yeah, this was me. Like for years, I thought the same thing. Like I can't control that I'm angry in my mind at you, and I can't control that I'm thinking these horrific things about myself.
Sure. And some kids will say, I could never play that guitar, or I could never climb that rock, or I could never beat that video game, or I could never be as pretty as her, or whatever.
Right.
It's common.
Yeah.
It's common when we're children, and it's common when we're adults.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
Okay. So one reason people might say, I can't control my thoughts is by default, because it's a new thing they've never tried.
Right.
Okay. Secondly, if someone has tried something a handful of times, or even many times, with minimal results, what is their common conclusion? Like if you try to swim across a lake many times and fail many times, what is the common conclusion?
That I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I only do it 5 times, that means for 5 times I couldn't do it. But what if I got it on the 6th?
Yeah. Or Edison on the 1,000th or 10,000th, right? Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
Famous for many tries.
Right.
Or Michael Jordan, who missed 9,000 shots or something.
Right.
Imagine if he gave up after missing a few shots.
That would be a travesty.
Yeah, we'd lose the world's greatest.
Yeah.
Right. Or imagine if you gave up on men after your first couple marriages.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
What would have happened?
Well, then we wouldn't have met.
Right. But how common is it for full-grown humans to fail a handful of times or even many times and then jump to a conclusion of, I can't do this?
I think that people sometimes don't even do a couple times. I know people in my life that one time and they have decided they don't do this. This is not for them. But because they've never done it multiple times and they don't have practice, they don't know that they can do it.
Yeah. And it's not even about degree, just whether it's a little or a lot. Mm-hmm. When X amount of failures happen, what do a lot of generally reasonable people start to do?
Yeah, that they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in whatever it is they're trying to do. They think they can't do it.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
They jump to the conclusion that they
can't do it.
Right. So reason 1, I can't control my thoughts because it's new, and I just default to I can't.
Right.
Like I used to do when I was a kid for lots of things.
Right.
Number 2, if I've tried a couple times or many times and haven't gotten the results that satisfy me, new conclusion, I can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are there any other reasons?
Well, if you're not taught something how to do it, like the first time you told me this, I was like, that's crazy.
Sure.
I've never seen anyone do it. No one's ever taught me this. No one's ever told me it was possible. So I automatically assumed it wasn't possible.
Right. So there you go. A third reason, I didn't have any role models. So I can't.
Yeah.
A fourth reason, no one taught me this and explained it to me and broke it down. So I can't.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard someone say, I can't, when the reality is they just don't want to put in the effort? Like they're lazy and apathetic and uninterested or not in the mood or whatever it is. Like they have some secret reason for not attempting a certain task.
Yes.
But what do they speak out to others?
They can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because can't is a super easy excuse to toss out, and now we're free from having to put in any effort or grow or change or evolve or practice or anything.
Well, those are just people who who they say I can't instead of being honest and saying I won't do the work. I don't want to do this. Recently, I had a conversation with my ex-husband when we talked about some past stuff. And I was like, you said you couldn't do this thing, but I don't know if that's true. And he said, actually, I didn't want to.
There you go.
And I was like, what? I was hella impressed with the honesty, because in 20 something years of knowing him, that's like some of the real first honesty I've heard from him.
Well, so there's another reason. Most people don't feel safe or comfortable admitting that they're not in the mood to do something, or they don't want to do something, or that doesn't feel good to me. They'd rather just say, I can't. Yeah. But if they're around someone who they know won't judge them and they've become comfortable and trusting with, maybe they'll reveal that actually I can, I just don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
So there you go. Like, that's 6, 7, 8 reasons.
That's a lot of
why people say I can't control my thoughts.
Right. Okay. So then for me in the beginning, I didn't understand back then the reasons why I couldn't. Now I understand more of why I couldn't do the things. It wasn't that I couldn't, is all those excuses were standing in my way. Okay, so
maybe you went through all 8 reasons or whatever.
Right. Okay, so somebody listening right now or watching who says, okay, so I have the excuse of why I didn't or couldn't or wouldn't, right? And now I want to fix that. So how do we?
Oh, someone's tired of saying I can't control my thoughts. And they want to actually control their thoughts.
Right.
Great.
So before we get into that, actually, I'm gonna rewind a little bit, because this episode came about because I saw a video from Jay Shetty, who claims to be the mental health guru guy. And he's got and I quote, the #1 mental health podcast in the world, I guess.
Oh, now I know who I'm competing with.
Well, and he has all these experts. He's not claiming to be the expert, but he has these experts on there. However, he makes commentary in his lectures and on his page on Instagram. So I found this clip he said, we can only master the first thought of the day and the last thought of the day. And there are 80,000 thoughts in between that none of us can master. And I thought that was total and complete crap, and the opposite of what I have learned over the last 5 years. And the fact that I literally control my thoughts all day long. So since I learned from you, that's what inspired this podcast. So could you tell me what you think about that load of crap that he laid out on Instagram?
All right. I don't know that much about Jay Shetty, to be honest. He's had some controversies over the years that I've heard a bit about. I've watched clips here and there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just did an expose on him 2 weeks ago in The Guardian, detailing all of his lies and the timeline and his fakeness. So you do with that what you
all right. I'm not about all that drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying he's touched a lot of lives. And whenever I hear someone say something that I don't agree with, it's tempting to snap to judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, or dig deeper and see if I can figure out their meaning. So like, maybe he didn't really mean that, or maybe it was a turn of phrase and I don't know what. Or maybe he is catering to his audience and he knows they're beginners and it would scare them if he said you can control all of your thoughts. Like, there's a lot of justifications for why he might have said this, right? So I'm going to give my take on it, but don't be surprised if he comes back with something like I just said, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just misleading people to tell them they can only control the first and the last thought of the day. If I was going to teach beginners, I would tell them that you can control the majority of your thoughts, maybe all of them.
Yes.
And it's a good baby step to start with controlling the first and the last thought of the day. This is a more correct teaching as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Because the truth is, it's just like walking or talking. When we first start walking or talking, we don't realize that we're going to be taking thousands of steps a day, or that we're going to be speaking thousands of words a day. And if someone told us, you see that thing that you're trying to do that you're struggling with and you're falling and you're mispronouncing and so on, yeah, you're going to need to do thousands of those a day. Might be off-putting, might be scary.
Right.
But we all do it.
Yeah.
When we first start walking, we take a step or 2 steps and then fall on the third one.
Right.
Maybe we fall over and over, and it starts to look like, man, am I ever going to get this? And at that point, it would be a reasonable conclusion to think I can't walk. I just can't do this. Or on our hundredth mispronounced word to be like, well, I guess I'll never get this speaking thing.
Right.
This is how people treat thought control.
Right.
But none of us treat walking and talking like this. We all sort of understand that we're going to master this. We're going to be doing thousands of them a day, and it ain't going to be a thing. And maybe down the road, we won't be perfect and we'll still mispronounce a word, or I'll say like or when I didn't intend to.
Yes.
But that's okay. Overall, we have a general mastery of the task.
Yeah.
Right. But that mastery came from insane amounts of practice, starting when we were very young and continuing on. So if someone wants to control their own thoughts, what's the only reasonable approach?
Practice.
Yeah. Approach it the same way you approached walking and talking when you were little.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing thousands of these in my lifetime, right? I have thousands of thoughts.
Right.
Over and over. They're never going away. I better learn to deal with this.
Yes.
And the best thing I can do is practice and take my falls and take my lumps and do it in stride without whining about it and just apply myself until I get the hang of it. As opposed to, I can't do this. I can't control my thoughts. This is too hard. I'll never be able to. I have some special condition. I'm afflicted. I'm one of the few who can't do that. It's like, what?
Well, I think a lot of people, they enjoy that victim mentality of, I can't do this. It's really hard. I can't stay on top of it because as somebody who's on top of it all the time, there are times I want to just not be thinking. We all go through that, or we all want a moment of that.
Sure, I'm not saying you can't take a break from practice.
No,
but
I know.
Most people take a break for their entire life.
Yes.
They take 10 years off of thought control. Nick Vujicic, the man with no limbs, learned to walk, like his own form of walking.
Yes, he did.
That's inspiring. That's human potential. That's what people should be doing. He had all the reasonable right to say, oh, I can't walk. I can't do this.
Yes.
But he didn't. I've seen MMA fighters with no legs. They don't just learn to walk. They learn to fight. And some of them are strong enough to take on like a full-grown, fully limbed person.
Yes.
So they just took their disadvantage and was like, whatever.
Yeah. And I want to make it clear for those who are listening, like Nick Vujicic started walking, in quotes, on a skateboard. He, most people would say, oh, he got a wheelchair. No. He wanted to get around on his own and be independent and not rely on other people. And he figured out how. And if that man could figure out how to do that and all the other stuff he's done,
then you can overcome your conditions and learn to control your thoughts.
Yeah.
And at the very least, even if you don't fully control every single one, you can improve your current level of thought control. I don't care who you are or how disadvantaged you are. If you're controlling 0 thoughts a day, you can now control 1 or 2.
Yes.
Everyone can improve the amount of thought control they have.
And you can even learn for negative thoughts to become triggers to help you change that thought into a positive thought. This is what happens to me. This is what I do.
Yeah. So to me, the correct teaching is everyone can learn to control their thoughts. If you're new to it, maybe you start with Shetty's first thought and last thought of the day or whatever. But there's no way in hell anyone should be stopping there.
Yeah.
You have 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years of life left to you. How much practice can you get in there? How many thoughts can you learn to control? You're going to settle for the first and last thought of the day for how long? Forever? It's ridiculous. And just like walking and talking, you all can become significantly talented at thought control. And why can everyone do this? Why can everyone control their thoughts? It's because we're blessed with something more powerful than thoughts. All right, most people never guess the thing that's more powerful than thoughts that we all have that allows us to control our thoughts. So I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And you can tell me if you think I'm off or wrong or you have a better answer.
Sure.
But the thing that controls our thoughts, it's actually maybe 2 things, is consciousness and focus, or intention and focus.
I would never have guessed either one of those.
Sure. But what comes before your thought? What moves your arm, right? Do you think to move your arm, or do you just intend to move it? And the arm, like the brain engages and the nerves fire and the arm moves.
I intend to move it.
Right. It's our intentions that are more powerful. Nick Vujicic didn't have any thoughts to move his limbs or whatever.
Right.
But he intended it. It started with an intention. I intend to walk. And
Right.
this intention is very powerful and starts to guide our thoughts. He could have intended, I intend to never walk again, or I intend to not try, or I intend to not bother. And that would also guide his thoughts.
That's pretty cool, actually. Okay, so intention is really powerful. We do intentions.
More powerful than thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Because we do intentions in the morning and everything that we intend always happens. So that's pretty cool.
Sure. Most people aren't familiar with the power of their intentions.
Right.
And even though they intend to move their body all day long and they're leveraging the power of intention, they rarely use it purposefully or consciously. And most of them don't intend to master thought control. So
Yeah.
if you don't intend that, would you going to magically master thought control?
No.
Right.
No. Especially if you're really bad at intending things and setting intentions. And so when you do and set them, you're setting them in a negative way.
Yeah. And it gets into semantics. Some people would argue that an intention is a thought, but it's really not. It comes
No.
before the
Yes.
thought.
Yes.
When we intend something, then thoughts start to flow.
Yeah. Yes.
And thoughts can come on their own and there can be repercussions and thoughts chaining on thoughts and yada, yada, yada. But there's an initial intention. Like, I intend to get good at this video game.
Mhm.
If you intend that, you will start to have thoughts.
Yeah.
And our focus amplifies that. If we focus our intentions, our thoughts become more powerful. If
Yes.
we unfocus or disperse our intentions, our thoughts are not nearly as powerful.
Right.
So there you go, right? Focus and intention. A conscious focus and intention is how you control your thoughts. So when someone catches a negative thought, what do they respond with?
More negative thoughts.
Well, yes, but like how
But an
did you stop? Yeah, an intention. How did you stop those negative thoughts and replace them with positive ones? You had to first
I had to intend
exactly
to fix this. I
Right.
had to intend to change my thoughts.
right,
And then I had to focus on being positive.
right. And if I go talk to some like sad sack, depressed person,
Mhm.
I mean, I got nothing but love for you. But when I tell them you can control your thoughts, do they respond with a similar intention?
No.
Are they intending to get the hang of it? Right. And because they don't intend it,
They intend for it to be hard.
Yeah.
So they get more hard.
yeah, so they can be in their condition longer or be the
Yes.
victim longer or win the argument or get out of this conversation or whatever. Anything but change or shift their intention in life.
Yeah.
But intention controls our thoughts and our body and our feelings.
Right.
Intention is insane. Intention is the most powerful thing. You could be a limbless person, but your intentions will carry you very far and they will help guide your thoughts. Nick Vujicic was super depressed and suicidal when he was a kid, as someone with no limbs is not shocking to do.
Right.
But eventually his intentions changed. He hit a turning point or rock bottom or made a shift. And when he shifted his intentions, all his thoughts started to shift too, slowly but surely. It wasn't instant, but there was that click. There was that turning point moment where he felt like, no, I've intended a new thing now. And I'm not going to be a victim. And I'm not going to let this disability hold me back. Or I'm not going to let this perceived disadvantage hold me back. I intend to win with it, to win through it.
And you see tons of those stories over and over where they say, I didn't give up and I was determined to walk. But what they really mean is I intended it and then I kept practicing and focusing on fixing it or walking or whatever it is. Yeah. Succeeding. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can intend to control your first thought of the day and your last thought of the day. This is a, beginner intention. A better intention is I intend to control my thoughts as easily as I walk and talk.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be taking 1,000 steps a day, saying 1,000 words a day, breathing 1,000 breaths a day. And I intend to be at least that good at controlling my thoughts.
Right.
I mean, 50,000 thoughts a day or whatever.
Right. Well, okay. So I love all of that. That's really, really helpful. So now, so for me, I kind of struggled with this in the beginning and I should have reached out to you and been like, I need more help with this. So I want to help those people who are like, okay, I agree. Jay Shetty's wrong. We can control our thoughts and we're going to work on controlling them better because we are not newbies at growth and change around here. We know our stuff and we believe in you, Jay, the other Jay.
J-Ryze.
J-Ryze, that's right. And I had trouble in the beginning because so I would intend to change my thoughts and I would, in the morning, it was easier for me to change those thoughts and have great thoughts, but then like one thing would happen and I would I would spiral. And then to make it worse, I would get mad that I spiraled, and then I would get mad that I wasn't allowed, in quotes, allowed to have negative thoughts. I know that sounds weird and it sounds so I want to explain, right? And so I had a lot of hate and jealousy. And so I was annoyed that I couldn't give into that, you know? And so sometimes I would say, I'm going to give those thoughts 5 minutes, and I'm going to be hateful in my mind for 5 minutes. That sounds awful, I know, but I kind of had to. But then again, it would spiral out of control and it would keep going for longer than 5 minutes, sometimes days. So why?
Well, first, what are you asking? Why do people feel unallowed to have negative thoughts?
Yeah.
Or why do they entertain negative thoughts for 5 minutes at a time and then it spirals? Or
why are we afraid to have negative thoughts?
Well, it's going to be similar to the first part of this episode. There's going to be a bunch of reasons, right?
Okay.
So one, if someone learns about law of attraction or thought chains or one thought leads to another, now that they know that, how are they going to view every negative thought that shows up?
I mean,
when we don't know anything about negative thoughts and we think they're normal and it's fine to have them and everyone has them and it's just part of life and I guess I have to have a whole bunch of them, then we don't really overreact to them because
we don't feel bad about
we
them.
think they're
normal.
Right.
Yeah.
It's totally just how I'm going to be forever.
Yes.
Then we graduate and we learn that negative thoughts probably aren't that helpful and there's something to work on or control or manage or approach some better way. We realize that accepting that we're going to have them forever is not really a productive, valuable approach. So we learn that approach is wrong.
Yeah, when we start learning
or not helpful.
Yes.
Right.
It's not helpful.
So as soon as we learn that negative thoughts are something to keep an eye on, now they're not normal anymore. And so now how do we view them?
Now we view them as like earth-shattering and horrific and life-changing, and you're going to ruin your entire life if you have a negative thought.
Because it's going to lead to more
negative thoughts.
Exactly. So one reason people might feel bad when they have a negative thought is that they've learned or come to the conclusion that any negative thought is contributing to the downfall of their life.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly how I felt in the beginning.
Sure.
Yes.
But what's another reason? If someone cares about image and they care about being a positive person or looking like a positive person or looking like someone who's growing and has their shit together and getting the hang of it, if they admit to negative feelings, what's going to happen with their identity?
Oh, well, yeah, it starts to mess with your identity.
Right. If you identify as a positive person,
yes,
and then you have a negative thought,
yes,
what happens?
You have that, what's it called? Cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
Yes. And that will F you up and make you focus on the thing that's causing the cognitive dissonance. You're going to like focus on that thing because you want that thing that's causing it to stop and to go away.
Yeah. No one likes cognitive dissonance and they will do almost anything to make it go away.
Right.
There are stories throughout history of people doing horrendous things just because of cognitive dissonance. They need to get rid of it. So they're given an order by their boss to do something terrible and they see themselves as not the kind of person who does that. So then they just break it down to I was just following orders and now they feel good again. The point is, as soon as we start identifying as a positive person, negative thoughts become a huge enemy that we cannot allow to exist.
Yes.
And so then again, you get this overreaction and this weird sense of guilt and feeling terrible and, oh my God, I can't believe this thing that I don't identify with has manifested itself around me. But it's weird because if you don't have practice controlling your thoughts, you can't just say like, oh, I feel like a positive person, so now they should all go away. That's not how it works. And so they're going to show up.
Right.
And most people will just feel triggered by them and bad by them. And they'll feel worse. They'll feel more negative about their negative thoughts.
Yes.
Now that they identify as a positive person.
Right.
Right.
And then you start to question, can I really control my thoughts?
Yeah, well, then they're back to, oh, I guess I can't control my thoughts.
Yes. This is a shitty little cycle that I went through in the beginning. And exactly for the reasons you just said, because I decided that I was a positive, bright, shiny person who spread love and positivity. even though I had spent many years before that angry and hateful
Right.
and negative.
It would have been better for you if you just admitted, I'm becoming a positive, shiny
Yes.
person, and it's going to take a lot of practice to undo the 30 some odd years of negative thoughts.
Yes.
But almost no one does that.
No, I didn't.
They just learned that positive is good and being a positive person is good. So now I'm that
Yes.
with no practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So there's like someone saying I'm a pro bowler and then they keep scoring zeros and nils.
yeah,
It would bother them.
of course.
But I'm a pro bowler though.
Yeah.
It's like,
But I keep getting gutter balls.
yeah, and they leave
Yeah.
the practice out of it or the journey out of it. It's
Yes.
so that's just two reasons, right? There could be more reasons. What if someone just has a fear of negative thoughts? Like a fear of termites or a fear of spiders or something.
Oh, that's a good question.
Some people might
Yeah.
have a
'Cause-
fear of this thing for whatever reason.
Well, that's what happened to me. Like I started to become afraid of them, like because I knew that this is not who I was meant to be.
Yeah, so the fear might tie back into one of the other reasons. But
Yes.
regardless, like if anyone has a fear of negative
Right.
thoughts, how are they going to react when one crops up?
Oh, then do you get afraid?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like having a fear of gutter balls
Yes.
in bowling.
Right.
Any bowler who has a fear of gutter balls is in trouble.
Dude, you're
It's gonna
just-
be
yeah,
difficult.
and you're gonna just be getting gutter balls because you're focused on it.
Well, that too.
Right.
But even if you're really talented and you have a fear of gutter balls, it's not a healthy
No
approach. Like
no.
a good bowler doesn't have a fear of gutter balls. They know it exists. They know it happens. They know it's fine. They know they've had them before. It's best to avoid them, but they don't have a fear of gutter balls. And if you're going to become an effective human being who masters their own thoughts and controls their own thoughts, you can't really have a fear of negative thoughts. It's weird.
Yes, agreed.
It's like wanting to be a good swimmer, but you have a fear of water. Like,
Yeah. Or my daughter used to be afraid of the stove, the oven, like the heat when you open the oven and it's hot. I was too when I was little, but she wanted to bake really bad, and so I had her practice. When we lived in a house where the oven was like up higher, it wasn't low, and so I would open it and have her come over and practice, or then I would have her practice opening it before I would even let her bake, so that she could get past that fear.
I love it. Practice cures practically everything.
Yeah. And now she's a baker that has no problem with the oven.
Great. This is why practicing on the first thought of the day and the last thought of the day is a good baby step.
Right.
And it could be other reasons. Like maybe you were fine when you were around other people who were more negative than you and you were the most positive. So if you have a negative thought, it's like, well, they're all worse, so I'm doing okay. But if you hang around me and I have a lot of practice and I'm pretty positive and I'm good at demonstrating this or practicing what I preach, then you're like, oh, I'm nowhere near as positive as this guy, and overreact and feel triggered by negative thoughts. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, you did. It's great. So like, I totally understand all of this. And I know the answer to most of the things is practice and work on your thoughts. So what would you say to somebody who's in the beginning of their practice, who understands these things too, but they want to get better at this faster? I know practice, but do you have any other tips for me too? Because even though I'm really good at this, I still could be better.
Sure. We'll see negative thoughts as your friend is one.
Okay.
See gutter balls as your friend. See missed baskets as your friend. See water in your lungs as your friend. If you're a bowler or a basketball player or a swimmer and you want to get good fast, you can't fear these things. You have to understand they're a normal, regular part of the journey.
Right.
And as you practice and get better, you will eventually eliminate most of them. When you get good, you don't get water in your lungs very often. You don't miss baskets very often. You don't get gutter balls very often.
Right.
When you become a pro.
Right.
So they will go away, but you got to be at peace with them for the journey. You don't get to be that pro overreacting and being triggered to every negative thought you have. I still have negative thoughts every now and then.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm fine with it. I'm like, I had a bad tone. I got to apologize. Oh, I was sarcastic. I got to apologize.
Right.
I played small or feared something, or I wasn't ambitious enough or whatever. I got to own that. Like, they're just a normal part of the journey. It's a chance to practice. It's actually helpful because if you look at people at the top of their game, they're looking to lose. Serena Williams doesn't want to dominate everyone. She wants to find a challenger who's worthy.
Yeah.
And then she wants to dominate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But
Yes.
they're on the hunt for someone who's going to sharpen their skills and hone them. I was watching an Elden Ring speedrunner world-class champion. He just did the god tier run of no-hit perfect runs of every single FromSoft game back to back. It was like, I don't know, 40 hours or something of gaming, and the man didn't get hit a single time.
Wow.
Like, what?
It's impressive.
Who plays something for 40 hours and never gets hit? Canadian dude. His name's Gino Machino.
Hey, Gino.
And it was just stunning. But for that 40 hours of perfection, he had to get hit and fail and get damaged and lose and die on every single game countless times. Yeah. Like, it's, I don't know, years worth of work. Years worth of work to pull this off. Years worth of failures. Because he didn't nail it right at the gate. He failed this game. He failed that game. He failed that level. He failed that boss. He failed.
Yeah.
Just, and you should see his reactions. Like, he records the whole stream, so you can watch all of his practices and stuff, unedited, just the raw stream of him practicing.
Yeah.
And it for some people, it's kind of boring because it's just watching someone fail over and over, like for a long period of time. But he's friendly about it, and he's chatty, and he's having fun. And even though he's the world's best, probably the world's best at this, I don't think there's anyone better.
Right.
And when he dies after like a 6-hour run into the game at the last boss, he dies to some squirrel or something, right? Some little fluff beetle, or he slips off an edge, like just dies, just slips off an edge. That's hilarious, dude. He responds and reacts with humor, with wit. He's like, well, that's part of the journey. No one gets good without this. Yeah. I'm used to these things. Yeah. It's a normal thing. A lot of people, if they were trying to do a perfect run of a game, they would get mad and cranky and crunchy.
Oh, they throw the remote and
that anything hit them. Because to them, getting hit is like the negative thought. And so same for people who are trying to be the world's most positive human or whatever, trying to be a good person. They're trying to be a positive person. Every little negative thought feels like the end of the run, the end of the world.
Right.
This is not a healthy attitude if you want to practice and become good, like Gino. If you want to become good at thought control, you absolutely have to see every negative thought as a friendly chance to practice.
All right.
You got to greet it with humor.
Right.
You got to laugh it off and get over it ASAP, and then start again, like start the run again. And then next time, I'm going to do better with this negative thought. I'm not going to get hit or fall off the edge this time. It was funny when it happened. I'm going to be even better tomorrow or the next day or the next hour. You get right back on the horse if you want to get good at it. So most beginners to thought control and positivity and positive thinking do not have this attitude. But if you show me someone who does have this attitude, I'll show you someone who's going to master it fast.
No, yeah. So when I have a negative thought, I will tell myself, we don't talk to ourselves like that. We don't say those kinds of words anymore. But I don't really.
So that's a medium attitude.
Yeah. Like it's a better attitude, and it's a way that I switch. Like I said earlier, it's how the negative thought triggers this automatic response of, oh, we don't talk to each other. We don't talk to ourselves like that. We don't say those kinds of words. And while this is good, that's why I said I want to improve this, because I know I can get better to the point where I don't even need to really remind myself and talk to myself that way. I could just laugh it off and be like, oh, well, okay. And so that was another reason I wanted to talk about it today, was because even though like Jay Shetty, his video was like why I started thinking about it, but really it's because I want to be able to, when I get like not the greatest news, or someone annoys me somewhere, I want to see it as a good thing. You are a super positive person, and anytime I will mention my annoyance or whatever, you will come at me with something positive.
And usually solutions.
Yes. And it used to annoy me in the beginning. I'd be like, oh, God, I can't even say one negative thing. But now I'm glad, because it's nice that I don't have someone feeding me more negativity. Or in my last relationship, if I said something negative, then he would feed more negativity. And
yeah, so misery loves company.
It was kind of harder to focus on positive thoughts when someone else is like, oh my God, you're totally right. That's the most annoying crap I ever. And I get the like connection of that, but I don't want to be connected to that. So
yeah, no, I love it. You just touched on something awesome. which is another reason why people say I can't. And I didn't bring it up in the beginning, but a lot of times people say I can't control my thoughts because they're familiar and comfortable with negative thinking. So human beings are adaptation machines. We get very used to things very quickly and very comfortably. We can get addicted to anything.
Yes.
But we can also re-addict ourselves to its opposite, right? You can get addicted to laying around, or you can get addicted to exercise.
Yes.
You can get addicted to junk food, or you can get addicted to vegan, like
right.
whatever.
Yes.
Or carnivore, or whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
So people don't realize this, but if you look back at your life, you have become addicted to a certain emotion or a certain mental state or a certain mindset. And most people are comfortable in anxiety or in depression or in frustration or discontentment or boredom or something. That's their home zone. That's their home emotion. That's what they have become addicted to. And so, like any addiction, it feels annoying and awkward to break that addiction.
Yeah.
It feels like a struggle and effort. It's so hard to break my addiction to anything.
Right.
And most people won't come out and say this, but for most people, it feels so hard to stop being negative, to break my addiction to negativity. But it's been 10, 20, 30 years of negativity and you're still addicted to it and you've got to break it. And it's just getting harder and harder.
Yes.
And I don't care how hard it is, you have to break it.
Yes.
So a lot of people will say, oh, I can't. Because I can't means I get to avoid all the effort of breaking my addiction to negativity. It means I can stay in my home emotion or my home state or my familiar mindset.
My gross comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say gross because it is. Because it feels comfortable because it's meant to keep us safe. But we don't have dinosaurs chasing us or big giant mammoths wanting to kill us.
And negative emotions ain't making you safe.
No, yeah. And so back then maybe they kept us safe as cave people, but now I don't know. But now that kind of thinking, being in your comfort zone is it's such a killer. And people will say all the time about clothes or relationships or thoughts, this is comfortable to me, so I'm just going to do it anyway.
Right. And what is the powerful thing that starts the shift away from this? It's more powerful than thoughts, more powerful than feelings, more powerful than our body. It's our
intentions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when someone really intends to quit something or break an addiction or break a habit, when they really intend it, you see it in action. And there's like a spark in their eye or in their heart or in their brain or something. And it's like, oh, snap, dude, serious.
It's just like drugs, though, because I was in and out of Narcotics Anonymous meetings. I went to tons of groups. I tried a billion ways that I was going to get clean. And it was because I never set the intention. And when I woke up in the ICU and I knew that I had got another chance, that intention I set in that moment, that was it for life. That was it. That overdose for me, I was golden. Like, I'm so grateful this happened to me. It's never happening again. I am never, ever going through this again. This is not worth it. I'm done.
Yeah. And could you have had that intention technically, any time along the journey?
Yes, of course.
It's more likely to happen when you hit rock bottom and have an overdose and so on.
But it doesn't have to.
But you were just laying there in bed and you made an intention the same way you intended to walk as a child. I'm going to get it like my parents get it. I'm going to talk like they talk.
Right.
Like everyone has the chance to set these intentions, and it will control the development of their thoughts going forward. It will control their practice and their determination and how much they apply themselves. Nick Vujicic did not intend to walk immediately. He was whiny and sad and depressed and miserable and, oh, woe is me.
Right.
Eventually, though, he did change his intention and he intended to walk and he got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And same for me. Like when I decided to change my life, I didn't have to hit rock bottom. When we met, I wasn't at rock bottom. I was, my life wasn't great and things sucked, but I wasn't like in ICU waking up from a drug overdose, but I didn't have to do that to change.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. I set the intention and I started changing.
The same thing goes for making money. You can watch people struggle to make money for years,
Mm-hmm.
years,
Yes.
and they'll come up with a million excuses.
Yep.
But if you had an intention meter and you measured every single one of them, it would be super low for all of them.
Yeah.
And then you'll see a switch, a shift in someone who changes their intention and it jumps high and they're like, I intend to make money. And you will see them make money instantly.
Yes.
So
I've seen it with my own eyes.
I laugh. Like I just chuckle. When I see people struggle with making money for a long time, I've been there. Like I was homeless for years. I know our intentions control this stuff. And I know that my intention level was low when I was miserable. And I know that my intention level got high eventually. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I intend to be happy, which is usually the path to money. Like the main intention isn't really, I intend to make money.
No,
it's I intend to do what makes me happy and energizes me, which has a side effect of turning me into a very valuable human to be around, which has a side effect of generating funds.
Yeah. Yep. And I think I don't remember, I said it recently to you. The real key to whatever this is to just being happy, like just finding a way to be happy with yourself. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Or I intend to be happy while making money.
Yes. Yeah. You can be more detailed about it.
Yeah. Whatever your intention is, I don't care. They're super powerful and they're the start to controlling your thoughts, which brings us back to the topic. If you want to master thought control, you have to truly intend it and then proceed like anyone who has intended anything.
Okay. So I have one more question. So if people intend to control their thoughts, right? Do you think that it's possible for that to happen right away? Or is this a journey? It's taken me 5 years to come to this place where I am if it's 1 out of 10, I would rate myself at a 5, right? And I've had a lot of practice, but I'm always upfront and honest with the audience and with you here on the podcast. And so a year ago, I spent January, February, March, April, May, 5 months, soaked in negativity. I had a really hard time. I was not being honest with myself. I wasn't being positive. I was really going deep dive on negative stuff. And that's when we broke up.
Sure.
Because I was going through a lot of negativity. Right?
That'll happen. If you think a lot of negative things, it's going to have results. That's another reason people are afraid of negative things.
Right. And so do you think that it can happen fast, though, for certain people? Because it's taken me 5 years to get to a 5.
So you're asking the guy who went from homeless, struggling for 3 years, and then almost overnight, like a week or a month, to living and collaborating with a small-time celebrity.
Yes. So, okay. Well, then it's possible. So what did you do to go? Because, okay, you are amazing and awesome, but how can the rest of us do that so fast?
Yeah. So it's kind of what I said earlier. For those 3 years, my intention was to be productive and get myself out of this and yada, yada, yada. And then the change overnight was I intended to just be happy and let the universe take care of me.
Wow.
Like it's huge trust, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
I'm fine if I die. I'm going to stop struggling. I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to stop efforting. I'm going to stop all this bullshit. I'm going to stop doing what society says. I'm just going to be happy on my last few days on earth. I made peace with death. I made peace with life. I made peace with the universe. I made peace with everything. I made peace with my personality and my failures and my worthlessness and whatever. Like, however the situation looked, I was just like, that's cool.
Whatever.
You can put it on my tombstone. Yeah. I'm at least going to enjoy laying around or the sun or being lazy or being bored for once. I'm going to take the brakes off the productivity train. It's not getting me anywhere.
Right.
And counterintuitively, that got me everything.
Yeah.
So if you make such a big intention shift from I intend to do this on my own and get out of this and find the solution, if you intend instead to be happy because death comes to us all, and if I die in 3 days, at least I was happy. I'm going to trust the universe and see what happens and whatever. It's a major intention shift.
Yes.
And that changed my thoughts. And I started appreciating nature. And I was like, wow, this isn't so bad. And this is a great way to go. Like, I'm happy to die this way. Like,
okay, so I have a quick question. Sorry to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget. So when you were thinking those things like, oh, the sun is great and this is great and this, when you made that sudden shift, did that intention shift cause all the
new positive thoughts? Yeah.
And did you struggle at all with any negative thoughts?
Yeah, of course. Like, okay. I was still homeless and I still thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
But the majority of my thoughts were now more positive. Okay. before, the majority of my thoughts were all negative. Then I made an intention shift, and in the next week or month, my thoughts became more and more positive. Like, oh, I really appreciate this air conditioning, like in this library. Oh, I really appreciate that, there's a bench for me to sleep on. Even if I died tomorrow or it's cold or something, like, it's better than nothing. Like, it's a very different attitude than the crunchy struggle of the homeless attitude.
Right.
Of the, I have no shelter, I'm abandoned, nothing's working for me, none of my businesses work, none of my money works, everything's so hard, yada, yada, yada. When you make peace with death and trust the universe and you're just like, I'm going to be happy for my last 3 days on earth, it's a very big intention shift. Show me any human on the planet who makes such a giant intention shift, a giant attitude adjustment, a giant mindset shift, a giant change in approach, and I'll show you results.
Yeah, that's
give them a month, and there will be results. Yeah, as long as they keep it up, as long as they maintain it.
Yeah, because that's an pretty intense mindset shift.
Huge,
incredible mind control.
Sure. Well, it's the same for you. Like, you were in the depths of heroin use and overdosing, and then one day you woke up with tubes in your mouth and you made a big intention shift, and now you're the cleanest person on earth, and no one can tempt you into any drug. Like,
right. All right. Well, I love that you had such an intense mind control shift.
Yeah, but you can do it gradually too.
But, well, I was just going to say, because my goal is to have intense change and growth without hitting rock bottom ever again.
Yeah, you can do it gradually too. The same way a bowler gets good.
Right.
You don't have to get bullied in school for your bowling, and then people think it's not a sport, and then you lose like some giant contest and you break your arm and now you can't bowl again, and like have all this trauma, and then you're like, you know what? I intend to be the world's best bowler, and like some Hollywood drama movie, and then overnight or like in the next week or month, you start to really nail it. You don't have to go that route.
Right.
You can just be like, you know what? Just like walking and talking, I intend to get this. And it's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be showy. People don't even know. They won't believe me or whatever, but I intend to get this. And I'm going to wake up. I'm going to wake up early and I'm going to practice it, because that's what someone who intends it does. Yeah. And I'm going to control my thoughts. And if I have a gutter ball or I miss a spare, I'm going to be chill about it or whatever, right? I'm going to see it as a friend, like Gino Machino. I'm going to laugh at the misses. I'm going to laugh when I get hit or when I get damages. Sylvester Stallone said something about it's, how many times you get back up or whatever. So I'm going to keep getting back up and practicing, just like a kid learning to walk. It's weird. People think it's so hard to get good at something or to change your life or to master a certain task or approach or mindset. It's not. It's the exact same way you learn to walk and talk. It's just you had a way better approach back then. And now most of us are like whiny adults.
Fair play.
We all say, I can't more than I can.
It's true. It's very true. Well, I love that you shared that with us, and your intention was like instant. So I've spent 5 years working on stage 5 or level 5 or whatever, and I would like for it to go faster. And so that's really why I asked that question, because I'm happy with where I'm at and I'm super positive normally, but like I would really like that to happen faster. So I really appreciate, and thank you so much. And because I control my thoughts, I thought I would attempt to control the thoughts of our audience by having them go and download Eyes Wide Open Volume 1. It is the world's first self-help coffee table book in the world. And when you go to eyeswideopenfree.com, you will now get a bonus called
The 7 Deadly Mental Traumas and How to Cure Them.
Yes. Jay and I teamed up to get more shortcuts to help you. So it is a bonus for you get the book and these amazing 7 deadly mental traumas and their cures.
And they're super cool, guys. Like, I know we call it deadly, but each section has a cute little animal representing the specific mental trauma. So there's stuff in there for anxiety, imposter syndrome, financial stress, loneliness, workaholics, all sorts of stuff. And each section has an example, a mindset shift, and a practice that you can apply to fix that thing. And all of them are free and doable with stuff you have already inside you. Check it out. You're going to love it. We're so psyched for you to have it.
So go get your copy now because I might take it away because it's too cute and I don't want to share. So, Jay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your own journey of going from, with your intention of going from massive negative thoughts to immediate positive thoughts. You changed your life in a very short amount of time. And so for the people out there who think this is has to take forever, like it has for me, please understand that I did not do the work because I enjoyed my comfort zone for too long. And don't be like me. Be like Jay, not like Cyn. Be like Jay, not like Cyn. Okay? Okay. So Jay, thank you for everything. I appreciate this conversation, all your teachings, and I'm super excited to be working on changing my intentions to being happier and letting the universe just help me. So, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our amazing audience?
All right. Well, props to you for your awesome questions and for keeping the gurus honest.
Always.
Jay Shetty, bro. No, I'm pretty sure he had a dark time in his life and he's practiced controlling his thoughts. Like, you don't get this giant success with shitty thoughts all day long.
True. Fair play.
So he's definitely controlled his own thoughts more than the first and the last thought of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But for teaching others, we got to be as careful as we can. Anyway, I don't have crazy, inspiring ending speech like I normally do, except to say practice. Practice thought control. Practice thinking positive. Practice adjusting your mindset. Practice your intentions. Practice, practice, practice. Because I'm selfish and I want a world of powerful people who are creating the realities they want by controlling their thoughts. And I'm kind of bored of dealing with a whole bunch of negative Nellies. So
same.
Hit me up. You got this.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. So after today, you will know how to control your thoughts to be happier so you can manifest what you want. So now you can go here to this video called What the F Are Emotions and Why Do We Have Them? To help you understand how your thoughts and emotions go together and to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.